Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about something that may eventually kill Google, or at least kill search engines as we know 'em. And no, I'm not saying it lightly. I'm really mean it. The gentleman who started the company called Perplexity, the website is perplexity.ai, is a relatively new AI company, like most AI companies are. And this particular company came up with something that basically allows you as the user to get any answers you're looking for, including from the internet. And you can do it with just asking a question and it gives you the answer. So in other words, the old days of going out there and asking a question and getting 10 links back is not exactly conducive to how humans communicate. Usually when we go and talk to somebody, we ask them a question, we expect one of two things. Either they give us the answer or they tell us no, they don't know what the answer is, but not 10 links. And we've been conditioned for the last 20 plus years to stick with the concept of you ask a question, you get 10 links back or more, depending on how many pages you want to go through. So definitely not exactly efficient way to do it. And this is much, much better. So I'm very hyped about this technology. I think it's phenomenal in terms of how they implemented it so far and what it does. And so we'll just go, I'm not going to go through every little feature, but I'm going to go through most basic use of this tool. And it's available for free. They have both free and paid plan. And I just want to show you why I decided that this is much, much better than using Google searches. And it basically replaces it, in my opinion. So let's go through it. So the interface, as you can see here, is very simple. You have this area over here that has some navigational options for a few different sections. They only have like 3 different sections. Then over here they have the promo for trying their pro plan. We'll cover that in a little while. And basically that's pretty much it. That's the whole thing you have here. If you want to start a new search, you use the new button here or hit Control I. So as you can see, it's pretty simple and doesn't have too many options here. Then in the main area here, you have, it just says where knowledge begins, says ask anything. And it's got a couple of little options here. So very simple, easy to use interface. That's the first thing that's great about this particular application here, service, whatever you want to call it. And so if I wanted to ask it, for example, a question, what's the best way to market a, let's say, real estate business? I'll ask it something simple. And you can see immediately it comes up and shows them some sources where it's got the answer from. You're looking at real-time display here. This is not anything that I'm playing faster than it's supposed to be. This is actually real-time recording how quickly it gives you the answer. So it comes up with these answers right here. To effectively market real estate, consider implementing the following strategies based on search results, create strong online presence, build professional website. So each one of these responses also has a little number next to it, which represents the source where it came from. And so if you click on any of these, it'll pull up a website where this information came from. So you can see that it's not hallucinating. Very cool. Also, these main 4 sources at the top here, and it's got a couple more here. You can just click on any of these sources here, and you'll also get where that particular source came from in terms of the website, and then you can read information there. On the right side here, it says search images. So anything related to what you were saying, if there's any kind of additional visual information, you have these images you can pull up, and you can see what they show. And as you can see, now that they went back, what I was typing is gone. So if I click on here, I'll get it back. So on the left side here, you see all the things you were doing. So that's a little, I don't know if it's a bug or this is the way they intended to do this, but obviously not the best way to do it. If somebody wants to go back, they should be able to just hit the back button. So Perplexity definitely has few little minor flaws that I'm going to bring up as I see them. And then also you have the search for videos. So you can pull up a video. And
it seems like every real estate marketing strategy is just beaten to...
Okay. Very nice, very simple. Again, type in whatever you want. And then you have the information immediately visible here. And then you have the additional resources on the right side there, which are, if you want to look at them, you can, you don't have to. Sources at the top here. And down over here at the bottom here, it's got ask follow-up. And so what you can do is you can ask follow-up questions related to this particular conversation. They call them threads. So each conversation where you ask question and get an answer, and you have some kind of follow-up question and get an answer, one of those things, this whole conversation, they call them threads. So right now we're looking at a single thread. And down below, they also, after each answer, they have a number of related questions that you might want to be asking, like how to create a successful real estate blog. So if I click on it, it's equivalent to me typing it by hand, and it just goes ahead and comes up with the answer. Again, super quick, super easy to read, very nice. One of the nice things about Perplexity is you can share anything you see here. You can just click on the share button, and the share gives you the link. So it gives you a link you can share with other people so they can see exactly the same thread. So very useful from that standpoint. You can share things with people. Another thing they have at the bottom here is rewrite, which allows you to select a different LLM or large language model that you can use. So they have their own that they're using to start with, but you can also select GPT, Claude, or Mistral, which are all different LLMs from different companies. But notice it's got a little pro icon next to it. And so what that means, it means that to be able to use any of these choices, you actually have to upgrade to their paid plan. So we can't select it now because I'm showing you the free plan. But if you wanted to use GPT-4, you could potentially not have a GPT Plus subscription with OpenAI. Instead, you get Perplexity subscription for $20 a month. It's the same cost. Cheaper if you subscribe for the whole year. I think it's 20% cheaper. And then you can still select GPT-4 and use that. So the idea being that if you use their pro plan, you can use any of these professional paid plans from these other companies as well at the same cost. So instead of paying $20 for ChatGPT 4 and then paying $20 for Claude 2.1, and I'm not sure if Mistral charges for theirs or not, you can actually select these things by just paying $20 to Perplexity. So very nice. And then it'll rewrite the response based on this other language model that you were using. Nothing mandatory, but certainly a nice option to have. And you can type in follow-up questions here or select the ones with related, however you want to do it. And you have this one thread, as they call it, and the threads are shown here on the left side, so you can easily jump to any other thread by clicking on it and then go back to this thread by clicking on that. It's pretty simple and convenient. So that's the main interface, and that's pretty much it in terms of using Perplexity. What you're asking about and how much you want to get into it is up to you. If I want to say, for example, create a new thread here, I'm going to say, what are best places to eat dessert in Seattle, for example. Okay, then, so this is not, it's a different question, and that obviously will give you a bunch of different possibilities right there. And again, we have references here to all these places, so you can just click on the little icon next to the answer and actually specifically see that. So if I click on Baker and Nuvo, it looks like they don't have the SSL yet, so let's pick a different one. Let's say simply desserts. Then we get into this female foodie. So then we could ask a follow-up question, for example, like, what about places in Redmond? And so it's smart enough, obviously, to know that we're talking about desserts. So it says in Redmond, then you got these particular places here. And notice also it knows that this is Redmond, Washington, not some other Redmond. There are plenty of Redmonds out there, but it knows, based on our prior discussion here, it knows exactly what we're talking about. So very nice, again, concise, quick, beautiful job they do, just a beautiful job. So let's talk about some additional features that they have. These are the basic features. One of the things you can do is when you do a search, if we go to a new question here, notice they have this little option called focus. And what focus does, if you click on it, the default is all, meaning it searches everything across the entire internet. Or you can concentrate on specific search paths, if you will, such as academic. If you're doing academic research in academic papers, you can select that. If you're trying to have some kind of writing done, you can select writing. If you're trying to do any kind of computational or scientific stuff, then you can do using Wolfram Alpha. If you're trying to find something on YouTube, you use YouTube, and if it's something on Reddit, then you can specify Reddit. You don't have to specify any of these. You can just keep all the time. But if I wanted to look for YouTube videos, for example, how to tie a ponytail, something my daughter asked me the other day, and of course I have no idea how to do that, then I can actually do this way. And now all the references and everything, as you can see, is all nothing but YouTube. And it shows me the actual answer here, but also I can go to any of these YouTube videos and actually
Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel.
So that's something that is very useful and very handy. And it jumped me to the wrong place, but here we go again. So it looks like when you go back, you need to be careful about which thread you're selecting here, because it jumps a little bit. So hopefully it'll fix it. But the idea is that, yeah, you got these YouTube videos and you can concentrate on those. So that's what the focus thing is for. And as you can see here, you also have ability to attach files. So if I wanted to attach a file, let's say we go to downloads and see if there's a PDF or, I don't know, some kind of PDF. And then we can ask, it'll upload it, and we can ask a question, how much does the agent charge? This is a real estate related deal. And so it'll actually examine the document, and then it's going to go ahead and say what the compensation is for the agent, so on and so forth. So it's one of these deals where it's very convenient to be able to drop a file and then have it work based on that file. You do have a limit, I think, of 3 files per day. But if you use the Pro paid account, then you don't have to deal with any limitations and such. But all these things are available. What I'm showing you now is all free. Okay? And so I'll wrap up the video here by showing you the navigational things on the left here. We're going to go back to this area right here, these 3 options. So the home option is pretty self-explanatory. If you click on the home, it'll take you basically to this place here where you can start the beginning part. So pretty simple. If you click on discover, then it's going to give you a bunch of news from various sources and just basically articles of interest. And there's a bunch of stuff about AI, about business, all kinds of different companies involved in it. It's all kind of tech-based. And I'm not sure exactly if it's tech-based because I'm tech-based or if that's because it shows it to everybody. But it seems like it's a little bit more tech-savvy here. But you have to try it to see. But it's a lot of these things are interesting. And you just simply click on it and you see the information about that particular piece, and then you have sources, things like that. So that's interesting to look at as additional things you can discover. And then the library is one of the things you use a lot, because library has all these different threads underneath it. And of course, this is just partial list. If you scroll through it, it's got threads going, everything I've ever done is going to be in there. So that's pretty handy. But another thing they have is called collections. And that's something uniquely different compared to anything else out there. And so what collections do is collections right here. Probably the easiest way to describe it would be something similar to bookmarks in the browser. So if we go here to this collections area, you can see that each collection has a name. A lot of them have a little icons if you want. And then they have number of threads, however many. Like in this case, it's got 11 threads. This one has 2 threads. And it shows you last time it was used. Pretty basic, all of that. So to use it, all you have to do is simply click on it, and it'll show you the information you had in these threads. This specific one has to do with, for example, weather information. But it obviously could be anything. And the reason I say it's like bookmarks is because whatever questions you were asking and whatever answers it gave you, it stores it under this particular collection, this particular group. You can also think of it as folders where you're storing answers, questions and answers. And then you have access to it anytime by just simply selecting that particular collection. So it's a way to store, think of it as named, stored answers, questions and answers. That's the easiest way to look at it, think about it. And what you can do with this when you set up these collections, you can indicate what name to give it. You can give it an icon if you want. And you can also give it some custom instructions that are very similar to custom instructions you give to ChatGPT. So if you're familiar with ChatGPT, you know that they have custom instructions where you can direct it how to give you the answers. Same thing with this thing. And of course, with ChatGPT, you can also do GPTs where you can set up specific GPTs to do specific function. Unfortunately, those are only available to people who have the Plus subscription, the paid subscription. It's not exactly the same thing because, like I said, it's more like bookmarks than like GPTs, custom GPTs, but they have a similar functionality where you can actually give it a little bit of instruction in how it should behave when it gives you the answers. And then all the threads in that particular collection will behave the same way. So case in point, just so it's more understandable, I'm going to put in the word dude. And the reason I do that is because I asked it to create an answer where I'm going to ask it whenever it sees this word, whatever the word may be. I can call it anything I want. In my case, I told it to use the word dude because I was told that this is one of the most frequent words that Bill Burr uses, the comedian. And I'm a fan of the guy. So if I type in dude, what's going to happen, it's actually going to come back and give me, oh, it looks like they changed it. That's cute. Okay, so they changed it up a little bit. The idea was that basically I told it I want the information about what's happening in terms of the weather here based on Bill Burr type style of talking, including bad language. So you saw I only typed in dude and I selected go ahead and give it to me. So it came back with this. It says, as you can see here, it's raining again. All right, then listen up, folks. On this Thursday, we've got classic case of sky having a goddamn meltdown. It's cloudy with showers, so you better have your umbrella or you're going to get drenched. So obviously, it's not exactly how normal you'd see a weather forecast. And it says over here, daily low. You can read the rest here. Whopping 44 degrees. Don't break out the sunscreen just yet. So it's using some of his style of humor to give me the weather forecast for today. And also I told it at the end to ask if I want to get a 10-day forecast. So it's asking, so there you have it, a 10-day forecast filled with blah, blah, blah. And actually, I guess it's giving it to me automatically here now. Because initially I asked it to ask me. So the bottom line is that you can set up one of these questions, one of these collection questions, to be programmed in a certain way where they'll act in a certain way, they'll use certain tone, or you can tell it whatever you want to tell it. In my case, I told it I want the response using the style of Bill Burr, and that's what it does. So every time I type the word dude, it's going to come back and give me the response like that. And then, so the first time it asked me, because like I said, they just made this a brand new thing change. So now it's going ahead and see, it says Reverend Washington, it's like living in the damn car wash. So you can have it do something useful, and at the same time you can control the degree to which it'll do it in terms of the details, specifics, the tone, everything. So collections are super useful. I definitely recommend them. Obviously, if you make a lot of them, at some point in time you lose track because you just have nothing but collections listed. They don't have right now any way to keep them ordered in a certain way so you can actually have categories and subcategories. But my guess is eventually they'll probably come up with that capability too. But long story short, this is Perplexity. You were looking at the free version of it. I highly recommend it. It does have some little anomalies. Like for example, yesterday I told it that I want to give it a number and I wanted to do something in terms of calculations. I sent a bill to a client. He says, why don't you look at all the details and ump them by, in terms of how much time you spent, by 20%, because he wanted to do something special with the numbers. And I don't have any easy way to do this in terms of the program I was using for tracking time. So I had to manually go in and just increase the amount of time it took me to do something by 20%. It's a bunch of lines, it's tedious, and I didn't want to do it manually in terms of getting a calculator and figuring it out. Just too much hassle. So I thought I'd use AI. I couldn't completely automate it, but I wanted to automate it to some degree. And so what happened was when I gave it the instructions, it actually worked perfect. I set up one of the collections so everything would be in one place. I typed in the number. The idea was it would come up with 20%, and then it would take whatever the result is and convert it back to hours and minutes, because that's what I needed to have as the end result. And it did all of this perfectly. And it did it for 4 or 5 times perfectly. And then on one of the numbers I was putting, like number 6 or 7, it just gave me a bunch of information about that number. So clearly it wound up being confused, where it lost track of what it was doing. And now it just simply thought that I was asking a question about number, whatever, 67, and which was not the case, obviously. So then I said, why don't you go ahead and do what you did before? And then it came back and gave me the right answer. Then I typed in a few more numbers, and then it went back into this forgotten mode again. It's not perfect. It can have some potential issues, so be on the lookout. I haven't seen any hallucinations like I've seen in some other cases with something like ChatGPT and other LLMs. This one I haven't seen yet, and it does have all these sources and everything, so perhaps that's why. But that's something to be on the lookout for. But I highly recommend you try Perplexity.ai, and the potential, like I said, it might give you sufficient amount of both fun and ease of use and convenience and usability where you're going to stop doing Google searches. You're just going to start using this all the time. That's what I'm doing. Thank you for watching this. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And until next time, I'm Oleg.